Hey, this is Lee Balcom, and it's not a coin toss. This is one of those pieces of information I think is so important because sometimes, even I have used the metaphor, but I've heard it many times where people are like, the success of a marriage, it's a coin toss, 50-50, right? The statistics are about that, to be honest, right? About 48%, depending on when, 48 to 49% of marriages end in divorce. And so you might think it's kind of like that coin toss, right? Where heads up, you stay together. Tails up, you go your separate ways. And that is just not true. And so whenever we use that, the danger of that metaphor is it makes us feel like it's just about the odds. Can I beat the odds or not, right? I mean, people think that way all the time. That's why people go to Vegas. Knowing that the odds are stacked against you, people still go in and place their bets. So sometimes I kind of wonder if that's what we're thinking in our mind when people decide to get married. They're like, oh, we can beat the odds. But it's not about the odds. It's not about a coin toss. Yes, the statistics look like that. But the statistics miss the fact that what makes a marriage work are the choices and actions you take in your relationship. It's not a coin toss. But because we often think of it that way, we leave it up to that. So here's why that matters. If it's just about tossing a coin, half the time it's going to land one way or the other. If it's about your actions and choices, suddenly you're back in control. You get to choose that. I talk about these moments of decision that happen in a relationship. So when you decided to get married, that was a decision. When you then got married, another decision, right? You were in some service, some type of ceremony, and you made some vows. And in those vows, you made decisions. And I kind of like that word because decision means to cut away, right? And so we decide something. Deciding something cuts away the other options. If you think about insecticide, right, it gets rid of bugs. If you have some other side, it's getting rid of something. And it's the same with deciding. You're cutting away your other choices. You're making that your choice. So we decide we're going into a marriage. That's a decision, an action. And then the question is how we play that out. Every day, you don't get up and go, okay, am I going to be married today? But you act in that way. You act towards that. You may at some point, and people do, make the decision to no longer be married. That's a point in time. So marriage is a continuation daily of those loving actions, those moving towards each other, of connecting with each other. Divorce is a moment in time. You decide that, just like you decided to get married, just like you decided to be married. And then you carry that on. And that's why it's not about the odds. Because why do you continue on that path? Because of the actions you take, the choices you make, the decisions along that path. That's what we've been talking about in these videos about how do you connect? How do you unpause a relationship and connect? How do you change yourself? How do you work on moving towards a different way? When you do that, you start stacking the odds. If we want to use that metaphor, we start stacking the odds. So let me think about it in terms of sports. Let's say that there is some shot on the basketball court that 50% of the people make. Does that mean that every player out there making that shot is 50%? No. Let's say that I just go out and I pick up the ball and I start shooting with no practice at all. No attempts at that. Maybe I hit 10% or 5% or 2%. But what if I go out there every day and I take those shots and I practice those shots and I practice my form and I do everything else and suddenly I'm hitting 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Suddenly I am beyond the odds that are there simply by the actions I've taken. In fact, in either way, it's by the actions I've taken. Either by I decided not to practice, I decided not to put in the time, or I put in the time, the effort, and I do my work to get there. So this is like anything else. There are skills to marriage. And unfortunately, people don't get them before they get married. And so what you end up doing is like on-the-job training. And you're making mistakes along the way, and those mistakes add up, and sometimes that leads to hurting relationship. It doesn't have to be that way. When we know the actions to take, the choices to make, the ways we want to move, suddenly the odds, it's not about a coin toss. It's because we are moving in the direction we need to go. We're learning the skills. We're building up the capacity. We're building up the love in the relationship, because that's how we beat the odds. So it is not about a coin toss, about whether your marriage survives or not. It's about the actions you take, the choices you make. If you need help with that because you don't have the skills you need to get there, please come visit me at savethemarriage.com. That's savethemarriage.com. This is Lee Balcom wishing you the best as you work to save your marriage.